All right. Good morning. Here we are with the legend again, Harley Smith. And just want to put it out there again, you guys really take a look at joining one of his classes and take the time and do that. It'll pay itself off time after time after time. And anyway, I just wanted to plug that in for you, Harley. And good
Hey, let's
morning.
start out with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Reading
And
my
good
book. No,
morning.
I'm just kidding. Good morning to you. So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, this is our ninth time talking, and I think maybe we should touch on trace nutrients or trace elements, trace minerals. We get a lot of questions here in our office, and our staff does. Um, a lot of people will say, "Boy, I've got all the bases covered, but I still have signs of this in the leaf. I still have, and I looked on the internet and I did the research, and it all points out to trace minerals and trace nutrients and micronutrients and things like that. But it's really hard to identify um, what they're heavy on, what they're lacking on, so on and so forth. So we try to preach just a good micronutrient regimen, and a lot of our products that we send out, we do add in the micronutrients that we think that are essential and proportionate with the other nutrients that we blend them with. And what's a good way to make sure you're taking care of that from the start?
Well, well, in hydroponics, of course, we have. Oops. Oh, DirecTV wants to sell me a new package, so
Sign up. If they're
they'll have
probably
to
giving it
wait.
away now. Everybody's disconnected.
Sorry about that. Um, no, in hydroponics, we have to provide all of the essential elements. So we have to provide the trace elements. And most of those we provide in what's called the chelated form in hydroponics. Chela means claw, right? So a chelate is an organic molecule that attaches to a mineral ion like a claw. It holds it tightly enough so it doesn't lock up, but loosely enough so it's available to the plant on demand. So we just give them all. I make a nutrient formula. I'm going to have iron DTPA. I'm going to have manganese, zinc, copper. I'll have boron. I'll have molybdenum. It's just a very small. Just add it in there, and then I know it's full spectrum. Now here's the question: is the plant actually going to be able to take that up? To take it into the plant. So we can provide it in hydroponics. But one of my favorite things to do is to add a wider spectrum of trace elements, including beneficial, is to add something like kelp and humic acid. Those two, just that alone, is going to provide over 60 beneficial trace elements. And it's also going to aid with the uptake of those nutrients. So that's what I recommend. If a base nutrient full spectrum with trace elements is enough to grow really good plants, if you want to just make sure that they're getting a better balance and maybe a wider spectrum, then add the organics.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of our mixes and blends, we do add the kelp to it, like our grow and our bloom and our finisher and all that stuff. We do add the kelp to it, but we also add the trace nutrients in the sulfur forms and the sulfate
Mm,
forms. And the reason we
mhm,
do that is they're more organic based, and a lot of times in hydroponic, you fail to get the proper
mm,
sulfur ratios. A lot of people, it's one nutrient that people forget about, and
mm,
and sulfur really does help the plant assimilate a lot of other nutrients. And then when you start moving into trace nutrients, we know that like zinc affects phosphorus and boron affects calcium and so on and so forth. And so the and as a seasoned grower, you understand that, but a beginner grower, I think your advice to just go in with a full spectrum and then with the biostimulants and some kelp and things like that, at least you know your bases are covered rather than trying to nitpick and pick and choose what to add along the way. Like most growers would benefit from that full spectrum, like what you say.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. There's in trace elements, there's a very narrow window between toxic, too much, and deficient. And It's if a beginner grower is going to add a little iron and add a little zinc and add a little, I guarantee he'll throw it out of balance, he or she, instead of making it better. Now, at the commercial level, it's a little different. Then I can do leaf analysis, I can do nutrient analysis, I can fine tune it right down to the parts per million of an individual element. But even then, it's tricky, because if I just overdo it a little bit with one, I'm going to get a deficiency of another one.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And what we find too by a lot of our customers, their source water or water quality can really affect the trace nutrient absorption too. So that's another tricky key to throw in there. But we always recommend to our customers, use the water that you have on site. Use your source water. Let's figure out, let's figure out what it is, and we can work around that. And so that's another thing that can really complicate some of the trace nutrients is the water quality too. But if you test that, have it sorted out going in, you have a pretty good understanding of how to let your water help you balance those things out.
Yeah, it would. I'm going to talk a little bit about the availability here too.
Okay.
Out west with the volcanic soils, we see, if I do a soil analysis in the lab, we can see really high levels of iron. And it's just loaded with iron. You think, oh wow, there's too much iron. But if you do a leaf sample, wow, we have an iron deficiency. There's a lot of iron there, but it's not, the plant can't take it up. So there's the other part there too, and pH has a lot to do with that, as you know. If you start in hydroponics, you get about 6.5 pH, which is it's still a little acidic. Iron starts to become unavailable. You get above 7.5, all of the transition metals, iron, copper, manganese, zinc, you can put them in there. The plant has a really hard time taking them up. You can get some deficiencies there too. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors, not just giving the plants the nutrients, but their availability.
Right, right. And it's well said too, because just because it's in there doesn't mean the plant's going to get it. And that's such a
Mhm.
misconception. We got to remember that. Just because you add it doesn't mean the plant's going to pick it up.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I like about humic and fulvic acids. I think we talked about that a little bit, but those two, that color, that orange color in the fulvic acid, that's iron. We're looking at iron, and it's a mild chelator or intermediate chelator, so it holds them so they don't strong enough so they don't lock up, but they also literally, Brandon, they literally stimulate the plant to take it up. It's not just available, that it's that humic and fulvic acid stimulates an enzyme called H plus ATPase. I don't know if we've talked about that before, but then the inside of the membrane becomes more negatively charged. The outside becomes more positively charged. The plant uses that voltage potential for energy to literally take up iron into the plant and some of the other trace elements. So it's keeping them from being locked up, and it's literally encouraging and stimulating the uptake. And because iron is tough, I'm amazed, honestly, I'm amazed that plants even evolved to be able to take up enough iron, because it oxidizes so easily. But I think that's why microorganisms are so involved too. Some microorganisms make organic acids
Hmm.
that chelate the iron and
That's
make it
right.
more available. Some of them make enzymes called siderophores. Siderophore means iron carrier. It's one of the best chelators of iron in nature. So they make iron available and stimulate the uptake. And one last thing I'll say, I'm long on my turn here, but some of the microorganisms make volatile organic compounds that literally activate genes in the plant. One of them that tells the plant to take up more iron. So they make it soluble, they keep it from locking up, they stimulate the uptake, and they even tell the plant to take it up more. And then the plants can thrive.
Right? A good point. And we make such a big deal of the humic and fulvic acid. I can't believe how good this works. I can't believe, wow, But if you think about it in nature, it's been there forever from the microbial activity that's going on, the enzyme
Yep.
activity, the metabolites of organisms, all that. I mean, humic and fulvic acid has, I mean, it's part of the soil. It's part of that whole, biological system. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're lacking in that, and you do use the humic and fulvics, the plants respond very well, very well.
They do.
Anyway, and along that same point, so um, a lot of a lot of customers try to foliar spray when they have a deficiency as well, and I'm sure you've encountered this along your way too. And
Mm-hmm.
we always suggest that they add a little bit of fulvic acid to the foliar spray if they choose to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
we don't recommend foliar spray. We hardly ever recommend that. And uh, uh, if needed, the soil and the roots, in a proper balance can kind of fix that. Only during emergency situations do we really recommend foliars, because you can really do some bad things, you know, doing foliar applications. And anyway, but just to retract, yeah, fulvic acid with a foliar spray really, really helps the uptake of the nutrients.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny just too that I agree with you on foliar spraying. If I were going to foliar spray kelp on a regular basis, like on mother plants,
Hmm.
maybe one time every no more than once a week, that would be a lot. I mean, that would be too
I
much for
understand.
me.
Yeah.
But every 2 or 3 weeks, just a couple of really light, low dose foliar spray, then it helps. But
Hmm.
mainly for me, the foliar is if you're correcting a deficiency and you
Yeah.
want to correct it quickly. Now
Yeah.
you
Emergency
still have,
type.
yeah, you still need to get to the cause, not just the
Hmm.
symptom. They'll treat the symptom very quickly, but you have to get the right balance at the roots. So it's not a replacement for making the real correction, but it will at least it could be 2 days and the plant will start to respond instead of or even overnight if there's an actual deficiency of the trace element. One thing I'll say here is that the trace elements, those are used in very small amounts, but they're still essential. The plant needs them to do the work. Now, like when we do the things with kelp and humic acid together, it stimulates the plant to make another enzyme that's a plant protection agent against stress. We've talked about that in one of our other ones. But that enzyme that the plant makes, we're not giving them the enzyme. The plant makes the enzyme. We're just stimulating the plant to make 50% more of that enzyme. But that enzyme has to be turned on, Brandon. It has to be activated. It has to be either an iron manganese complex or a copper zinc complex. If that enzyme, like that's called superoxide dismutase, by the way, if that enzyme is turned on, that one molecule of that enzyme can do over 1,000 chemical reactions per
Wow.
second
Wow.
inside the cell, protecting the plants against oxidative damage and stress. But it has to be turned on if it has the trace element. If the trace element isn't there, it's inactive. It's doing 0 chemical reactions per second. So can you see that? Just that very small amount turning on enzymes can have a dramatic effect on quality and yield. Way more than just the nutritional value of the trace element. It's the activation of enzymes. And to me, that's one of the biggest secrets of the organic biostimulants is their effect on the enzymes and the genes of the plant. The
Boy,
genes
yeah.
make the
No one can say it
genes
better
make
than
the
you.
yeah. One gene makes one enzyme. So the genes make the enzymes, but there are compounds that stimulate, turn on the production of genes, and then activate the genes that they produce. Wow. That's why you see a difference.
Boy, yeah, well said. Another reason people need to take your classes there. I mean, that's so well. Uh, yes, you make things so easy to understand, and that's critical in this the world we live in, because sometimes it's hard to get the information from a book. Sometimes who knows what information you're getting from the internet. Um, coming from Harley, it's tried, it's true, it's researched, and he's replicated this process. So that's what's good to hear all this stuff coming from you. We really appreciate what you've done and what you continue to do, because it's really helping a lot of people. Helps me every time we have a podcast. I mean, I have more things I need to process and think about, and how to do my job better as a formulator or a mixer or a manufacturer. So yeah, we got. I hope we can get a lot of people to sign up for your class. You make it easy for all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I hope we do too. I'm retired now, so I have no income except for Social Security. So all of a sudden, I'm a poor person, but I'm not complaining because I'm enjoying life. It's not. I wouldn't trade back. I'm not trading back, but I love to share like we're doing now, and I do appreciate the support from Kelp4Less too, by the way. So thank you for that. But I want to get the word out to people, because that's really, in the end, I just want to help the farmers, help the growers get better results, more consistency, better quality, especially higher bricks. I want to, be able to reduce the amount of fertilizers, improve the plant's natural resistance to pests and disease, so they don't have to spray constantly with pesticides and fungicides. I really, in my golden years here, I want to help make a foundation for the next generation of growers to make the world a better place. We're just getting started here. We barely really understand some of the transcription factors and the way some of these enzymes work. We know more than we did a generation ago. But this information that we've done with your dad and with you and your brother and all your friends and associates, that is important for the future, so that we can feed the world in an environmentally responsible way, so we can improve the nutrient density of food, so there'll be less diseases. We improve the plant's natural resistance to pest and disease. They're making antioxidants. Guess what? We eat that plant, we get those trace elements in us that went up into the plant, that activates enzymes in us and helps us to better handle environmental stress and recover from disease and stay healthier. Now you're getting me on my soapbox, but no, that's what we're here for, and I'm glad to be part of that, and I'm hoping that we get hundreds of people signing up, and that those hundreds spread the word to hundreds more, that they apply what they learn and improve the standard and quality of life for those around
Boy,
them.
that's well said again from the master. We're on the same page, and it's we think that we haven't been able to achieve the full response from plants. I believe plants can give us a lot more in their current strains, in their current genetics. I believe we've held them back from reaching their full potential by a lot of our practices. And so we really believe that there's a lot of potential on, plants and varieties that we're doing now, that we need to focus on that rather than focus on the new genetics or the new strains or the genetic engineering and things like that. I think it has a lot to do with how we feed our plants, some of the byproducts that happens when we feed our plants certain, fertilizers or nutrients or chemical mixes, even pesticides. I think we've held plants back, and we've adjusted our inputs to try to get them back to that level. But I think we have a long ways to go. I think there's a lot more potential in plants, and with these biostimulants and knowing about the enzymes and, proper regimens and balances and the biology of everything, I think we got a long ways to go still. And I think we can get there, but it's going to take more people like you and myself to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're doing it. It's just, you got to get the word out to more people. Remember, even years ago, we found ways that we could, with biostimulants and with microbes too. We got to work with nature. They make the biostimulants. There's proven research, university research, that with the right combinations, we could cut nitrogen fertilizer in half without having a negative effect on yield. Tell that to just the average farmer down the street. talked to the farmer down there and said, hey, you know what? You could cut your nitrogen in half. He'd say, no, no. Plants need nitrogen. They need nitrogen. And we're just addicting our plants to nitrogen. Then it weakens the plants' ability to fight off pests and disease. So they have to spray more chemicals too. And then they spray more insecticides. And we're just accelerating the insects' resistance to pesticide. Instead of increasing the plant's natural resistance, we're literally being counter-effective in the long way by improving the insects' resistance over time. And that's a real shame. We've got, they won't believe it. You can tell them that, and you have to prove it to them. And it's not always easy to do. But there is, it's being done. We'll get there.
Yeah, and on that topic, so the next crop cycle, the recommendations are use more. And then the next year's crop cycle, well, we need to use more. We need to use more. And it's really, there's not an end. We've got to do this quickly there's just no other way to go about it. We can't continue this, use more, use more, use more. I remember 25 years ago, there was a professor, an ag professor in our local area. And in his class, he actually said, you can't use too much nitrogen on this specific crop. And so it comes out, okay, so we put 300 pounds of nitrogen per acre for this crop. Why don't we put 1,000 pounds of nitrogen on this crop and then take the next 3 years off, if that's the case?
No.
And that's just a mindset. We have to change. We have to do things. We have to work with nature and not against it. So boy, we touched on some very good things today.
Yeah. And it's the cool thing too, you work with nature. Not only, there's other unexpected beneficial side effects, right? You didn't even anticipate. But if the soil becomes more and more fertile from year to year, you can actually you get better results the second and the third year. You can use less and get more. It's the opposite of just throwing on more chemicals and hoping for the best. I'll tell you, I guess we're about out of time, but so I guess we can save some for next week.
Yeah, we'll touch that different strain topic next podcast.
Okay, that sounds good.
I may be I'll still be on the road, but we'll talk. We'll figure it out. Hopefully I can do another one on location at a customer's farm. I'll be out. That'll be fun.
Okay. All right. It's been a pleasure as always, and we'll get the word out. I have a new round of classes starting tonight, so my fall semester. So by the time the viewers see this, that'll already be there. But I really would I'm probably going to do a winter semester on a different night. So we can still do some promotion and see if we can get another set. I know this time of the year in the fall with the harvest and, sometimes people get a little bit too busy in their schedules right now to take a class. But give me another month or two and people are going to be wanting to do some planning for next year. So I'm thinking I'm going to do another class later. Anyway.
Okay, great. Great, I appreciate it. Can't wait to see you in person again, too.
Okay, sounds great. I'll see you later, Brandon. Okay. Have a good one. Have a nice vacation.
Okay, we'll give it our best shot. Hang in there and stay in touch.
Okay, bye.
See you.